Yeah, just gonna give a bit of time to make sure that we are definitely live before I get cracking, because the last thing you want to do is start introducing yourself when nobody is here. But I'm gonna guess that you guys are. So, hello. I just realized that you'll be able to see my face for this entire stream, so you get a double whammy of both my screen and myself, which is probably a good job I wore a pony shirt today. So, welcome to my panel. I am going to be talking about what the furry fandom is and how it relates to My Little Pony. So I'm going to be discussing who and what furries are to, you know, help people understand, but also to talk about how that actually relates to the My Little Pony fandom and community, because there seems to be a lot of confusion there, and I just thought it would be really fun to explore. So yeah, let's go. Thank you guys all for showing up. And please work. There we go. Fantastic. Not all of my panels look like this mess of graphic design, I promise. This one is especially awful just for you. So I wanted to introduce myself to you guys because I feel like that's a good start. So my name is Reskel. I'm 24. I live in Nottingham. I'm actually on the UK PonyCon committee now. I was volunteer for 2 years beforehand. So you might have seen me, I used to work on the charity merch table. And that was kind of my volunteer role, but I've moved on up into committee now. So awesome, thank you. But for anyone who has talked to me or known me or even seen me around the convention, you might know that I am also a furry. I've put up all of my fursuits on this page for you to see, as well as my pony character, my persona, all of that. Yeah, and quickly, I also wanted to say, if you guys have any questions at all that you want to ask me during this panel, if anything comes to mind, pop it in the Q&A channel. So this is the Starlight stage, so it will be in the Discord under the Starlight Q&A. So I hope that's all fairly clear and awesome. Let's actually get into it. Sweet. So I'm going to be moving this around because I imagine you can see this little pop out. What even is a furry anyway, right? The answer is complex. Furry means something completely different to everyone. We are a subculture. We are based around the concept of what is called anthropomorphism. If you guys have ever done any kind of English language or literature, you may have come across this term before, but meaning something different. So when furries say anthropomorphism, it is the act of applying human characteristics to non-humans, specifically animals. These animals can be real or they can be fantasy. You know, there's a bit of both going on. But yeah, some like English literature things talk about it to mean inanimate objects, and that's not really what furry means. So I just wanted to clear that up. So another thing I get asked is that furry does not automatically mean fluffy. So you have avians who are bird furries. So these could be actual birds or griffins or hippogriffs, you know. And then you also have scalies. So these are like lizards and dragons. And, you know, if there is an animal you can think of, there is probably some kind of furry representation of it. So I've seen frogs and like geckos, you name it, it's here, we've got it. So furries are a diverse and completely global community. Furries have been organising meetups and conventions since the 1980s. We go quite far back. But furry is the name for the fandom, as well as a individual term. So you are a furry, or I am a furry, and we are within the furry fandom. It's a self-assigned term, right? So nobody can be like, you're a furry. That's not how it works. Furry is a term you choose for yourself. And you know, you can like anthropomorphic animals, you can like Disney films and not call yourself a furry. It is completely up to you, and it is 100% a choice. That's something I also wanted to get across, because I feel like there is a lot of misunderstanding with that as well. So yeah, let's go on to the next panel. Just checking the time. I don't want to run over, because I know a few panels have been cut off mid-talking. And yeah, I want to make sure I get everything out to you guys. Yeah, so let's go a little bit more into detail about what a furry actually means. Okay, so I'm going to take Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps from Zootopia. I didn't put this in the PowerPoint, but Zootopia is called Zootropolis in Europe and Britain. This is because I believe there is like a zoo called Zootopia, so they had to change the name. Just if you get confused about that, it's the same film. So yeah, we're going to take Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps. Nick is on the right, Judy is on the left. So we're going to use them to explain anthropomorphism. Both characters are animals, and they exhibit human-like traits, right? So as you can see, they are stood on two legs, and they walk like a human would. They eat, they wear clothes, they talk, they have jobs. You know, they are animals living as humans almost. Some ways I've tried to describe it before is to consider furry characters are perhaps like a fusion. So if you like morphed a human and an animal together, right? But they will typically still display characteristics of the animal species. So for example, Nick Wilde here, he is sly because he's a fox, right? So he is super cunning and sneaky. But if you would take maybe a sloth character, they would be quite slow and sleepy and draw out their words. You take the mannerisms of that animal species, and then you just apply them, you know. Like if you think about it, like rabbits perhaps would be quite jumpy and flitty, same as like horses, you know. You sort of take what you think about when you think of that animal and morph that in. Cool. Remember guys, if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A panel. I do keep going and talking about this and getting more in depth, but if you have any questions along the way, I would love to hear them. So yeah, I said this in the previous slide. While many people enjoy Zootopia, Zootropolis, this film, and other Disney films, if you enjoy them, it doesn't automatically mean you're a furry. Like, you choose to be a furry, you can still enjoy media that has anthropomorphic characters in it without having to label yourself anything. It is completely a choice. I hope you're all keeping up and try not to talk too fast. So, fantastic. All right. So, let's go into what actually makes someone a furry, right? Quick sip. Much better. So what tends to make someone a furry, it's the creation of their own furry character, like creating your own invention. So this is a persona or a avatar, sometimes quite literally an avatar, to represent yourself. These are called personas. So this is a fusion of furry and persona. We have quite a lot of dumb words like that in our community, which are just fusing two words together and shortening them. So get used to that. There's more of that coming. To the right of the screen is my persona. They're also called Rescal, like me. And they are drawn by Reaper Fox, who is actually dealing at the convention today. So, you know, be sure to pop by, give them your money. Same with everyone else in the vendor hall. Big ups to them. But yeah, the idea of creating your own character might feel kind of familiar to you guys. Like if you guys aren't furries in this stream, you might be like, that sounds like, yeah. So a lot of people in the pony community often have ponysonas or OCs, so original characters. It's one of the many ways in which our communities share similarities. But what matters to both of us is having a connection to that character, right? So that character really does have to feel like you. That is like the number one. Furries in general, when creating a persona, we'll just sort of pick our favorite animal, and like pick a color scheme that we like as well. Usually like a few colors, or if you're like me, you pick all of them. And then you just get creating something that feels like yourself, you know. So Rescal is a alien space dog. She's also a doofus like me. So she is brown because that's my natural hair color. And I just sort of mixed up all of my favorite colors. I put in quite a lot of greens because that's like a color you associate with aliens, and I really wanted to draw attention to that. So yeah, it doesn't have to be that deep, you know. Many people pick an animal that has some traits that they resonate in themselves, that they see and go, yeah, I relate to that. People typically tend to draw your persona in clothes that you actually wear, with the tattoos and piercings that you have, but that is not always the case. So personas are very deeply personal. No two are alike, and no two are created in exactly the same way. I've seen a lot of people create personas who don't necessarily look like the way that they look in real life, and it is just a idealized version of themselves, and that is completely fine too. A lot of people explore their gender identity through their character because it is a way to present to someone not how you look in real life. You know, they can be generally quite therapeutic and helpful to people. So that's pretty neat. Fantastic. Let's keep going. Keeping an eye on the time. Sorry. Thank you all for coming, by the way. There is quite a few slides to get through, but I'm going to try and make it as interesting and fun as possible for you. So yeah, let's talk about horse personas, because how does that work, right? So of course, there are many furries who have horses or ponies as their actual personas. You know, many of those have no real interest in My Little Pony at all. So typically the way you would tell apart someone who is a furry with a horse persona and someone who is a My Little Pony fan is style, proportions. You know, My Little Pony original characters, they have proportions that line up more with them being a horse character in a fantasy world. So, you know, you would have quite short muzzles on pony characters. They kind of have these like tubular legs that get bigger at the end, and they're not usually segmented into separate hooves. But, you know, some people with horse personas go completely without hooves on the hands, and they just go for actual wiggle fingers. You know, there is loads of variety. But I use this as a really good example. So we have my horse character Dusty up the top. They are drawn by Shimmy Arts, who's fantastic, by the way. And as you can see, they are very much like a typical horse. And at the bottom is my pony character. They are drawn by iRoxyCon on DeviantArt. And you can see from the two that they are completely different stylistically. But one thing that is totally valid and fine to do is being like, well, what if I want to use my PonySona as my fursona, like in the My Little Pony style and universe? And that is totally fine. I know several people who do that, and it is totally cool. You know, personas should be based on what you love. And if what you love is ponies, then great. You know, I have people I know who have Lombax personas from the Ratchet and Clank series. They're like weird alien cat things if you don't. But you know, people have Night Fury personas from How to Train Your Dragon or Sonic OCs. Whatever you fancy, there are really no rules at all. Sweet. So let's get down to the stuff I get asked the most, especially by people who aren't furries or don't know anything about furries. So furries are just those costumes, right? The answer, truthfully, is yes and no. Furries are just people. So I'm a furry right now. I'm not wearing anything furry at all. But you really do not need anything to be in the community. You don't need anything to be in any community, to be honest with you. Some people have artwork of their characters. Some people might have like ears and tails. Some might have custom clothing to match their character, so onesies, better known in our community more as kigurumis. And some have absolutely nothing. And again, that's totally fine too. But some furries do own what are called fursuits. So this is furry and suits put together, fursuits. I told you there was more dumb naming puns coming up. You should have been prepared for that one. But yeah, fursuits, they are costumes based on someone's persona. So they allow furries to bring characters to life through their performance. There are also pony suits. They are constructed in a similar way, but they are usually for cosplay of existing characters rather than OCs, but that can be the case. I saw a picture this morning of someone getting their My Little Pony OC made as a suit, so that totally happens as well. Keep an eye on the time. We're doing fantastic. Again, guys, if there is any questions about any of this, please pop it in the Q&A channel. I am really interested to see what you guys are thinking about, what you have questions about. Should be cool. Sweet. So let's talk about fursuits, and I will try not to bore you all day with this because I really could talk about this all day. So there's a few different types of fursuit, so hear me out on that. There are what we call full suiters. So Vix here is a full suitor. You will see that faux fur will cover the body from literally the head down to their toes. And they will have a furred bodysuit piece. They will have a tail that usually attaches via belt loops. What that means is you can kind of thread a belt through it and it will stay there, you know. They will have separate hand and foot paws, or, you know, this could be hand or feet hooves. I've got both behind me. So if you want to see those in the Q&A, I'm more than happy to show you guys that and turn off my screen share. Let me know. But yeah, obviously you will have the main part, which is actually the fursuit head. A lot of people call them furry heads. They're definitely called fursuit heads. And usually they will have some kind of identifying badge or accessories. For accessories, people have things like cute little bows in the hair or flowers or little bandanas or something. You know, people get really creative with that. But you can also get what are called partials. So they will have the wearer in clothes rather than a fur bodysuit. It will still cover all of your skin. And what it will have instead is what's called arm sleeves. So they're like fur tubes. And then you have elastic around the shoulders. So you put those on first, put a t-shirt over the top. Can't see any skin, looks seamless. Same thing with legs. But there is a huge variety, and I can't stress this enough, in both the species of different fursuits and the types. So I have seen fursuits of ants, beetles, spiders, wasps, snails, lobsters, shrimp, as well as, you know, just like dogs, cats, lions, horses, anything you can think of, it's probably out there. But, you know, if you want to know, is there a fursuit of X animal? Ask me. Because, you know, if I don't know, I'd probably like to find out. But yeah, there are also plush suits. So these are fursuits where it's all soft and padded, so it looks like you've genuinely just stepped into a plush animal. They usually don't have segmented fingers, they're usually just big bappers. And yeah, so that's a different type of fursuit as well. There is three-quarter suits, which I'll talk about in a minute. There are poodlers, which are people who don't mind showing the skin of the costume. They'll just put on hand paws and be gone the arm sleeves. This can help a lot with people who have health issues and overheating. There's also Ratsamas fursuiters, which if any of you guys have ever used TikTok, I'd probably be willing to bet money on the fact that you've probably seen one. But yeah, we are totally diverse. We've got a bit of everything here. But kindly provided by my friends, mostly on Twitter. Here is a bunch of examples of fursuits. So I'm going to start with Sanders. He is a full suit. He's also a rooster. If you can work out why he's called Sanders, then 10 points to you. He is a bit of a pun suit, but he is what we would call, I can never pronounce this right, so you're going to have to bear with me, digitigrade full suit. I think I did it okay. I and quite a lot of people usually just shorten it to digi fursuit because it just makes life easier. It's a little bit less of a tongue twister. So this basically means that he has padding on his thighs and calves, you can see in the picture. And what that does is it gives you more of an animalistic leg shape, right? Gives you more of like that animal silhouette. These can be made with polyfill stuffing, so that's basically what pillows are made out of, or foam, so what sofas are made out of. They tend to be removable to help with washing and transport. As you can imagine, getting one of these anywhere, especially like on a plane, is a bit of a nightmare because they're gigantic. But yeah, Sanders, they are made by Mercury, and they're owned by my friend Serious Punk Dog, who very nicely allowed me to use their photo. So thank you for that. Just gonna keep checking the time. Sweet, cool. So you have digigrade full suits, plantigrade full suits. They are fursuits that have a faux fur bodysuit. Another thing I get asked often is, are they made with real fur? And the answer to that is no, and no again. Absolutely not. It is all synthetic plastics. No real furs are ever used. But the main difference is plantigrade don't have any padding. So these fursuits look more slimline. They're a lot easier to be mobile in, and they can be cheaper for people because obviously they require less materials to build them. Sip. Stay hydrated, everyone. Gotta save our voices. So we have Dee the Wolf on the left. They made their own fursuit, which, shout out, incredible. And Wolf on the right, he actually commissioned his full suit. There he is. He commissioned his from Fursuits by Lacey. Both are super common in the furry fandom. Typically, building a suit yourself is cheaper because you don't have to pay for someone's labor time to make it. But they require a lot of skill to produce. Both avenues are going down, you know, totally respected and fine. Not everyone has the skill to build one, and some people just want to commission someone because they have a particular style that they like. So it's all gravy. There we go. Right, let's talk about half suits, more often referred to as three-quarter suits, but you can use both interchangeably, and partials. These might be what you've seen more of outside of pony suiters, honestly, just because they're a lot cheaper. So here is Pumpkin. She's my suit. She is a demon goat. There she is. And she can be worn as either. So on the left, I have full digigrade padding in the legs, as you can see. So the top half of my body here, where I'm wearing my Wicker Man t-shirt, there's no faux fur underneath there. That's just my body. And then on the right, I am wearing jeans and a t-shirt. So the left is a 3/4 or half suit, and the right is a partial. That's the difference between them. You can get 3/4 or half suits where it's the bottom half that's not furred, but that's quite uncommon. It's usually the bottom half that's furred. So you're basically doing the Donald Duck, t-shirt, no pants. Both are super common, again, in the community. There is no right or wrong way to wear any kind of costume or fursuit. An eye on the time. Great. But Resk, I hear you ask. I've seen fursuits that don't look anything like that. What are you talking about? So that's true. Not all fursuits look exactly the same. A lot of what I've shown you so far have been considered toony fursuits. So Rexy on the left here is a toony fursuit. You'll notice they have big cartoony eyes, big nose, not many teeth or anything, big like cartoony features. Then in the middle, you have realistic fursuits. So you have these glass eyes, and the vision is actually through the tear ducts down here. They'll usually have like a full jaw set with lots of teeth and gums and realistic nose, usually like silicone paws and claws and all that. But you also get use your own eyes fursuits. So this literally has like a hole in the mask, and you put your own eyes through. These are super rare. I think there's only like one maker who actually makes them, but I wanted to include them just to show some variety. But yeah, you can get all of those. Toony is the most common, but you'll see quite a few realistic suits as well. Sweet. So pony suits. We're at a pony convention. Let's get back to ponies. At pony conventions, you will have very likely seen pony suiters. They will attend the cosplay contest, as well as the fursuit and pony suit photo shoot events. If you go to those, you might have also seen me without realizing it. A lot of these pony suiters, though, they consider themselves cosplayers and not furries. And again, that's completely fine. You will also see lots of fursuiters at pony conventions, and that's fine too. You know, the Rainbow Dash here is the Phoenix Nest or Lightning Wolf, and they are one of the most famous fursuit makers in our community in furry. But you know, this to them would be cosplay more than anything. So yeah, it's interesting to talk about. But you know, however you view your costume is on you and your decision. Sweet. I wanted to talk a little bit about con badges. I realized instead of including photos, I could have physically shown you them, but whatever, we've got photos now. So yeah, a lot of fursuiters and non-suiters will wear con badges. These are again probably, you know, something you've heard about in pony circles. Their purpose is identification. So there's typically two types. So there are ones issued by the convention. You guys should have printed out your cool and fun badge for this convention, hopefully. I would have done, but my printer is buried. These are to show you're a paid attendee at in-person events. It's so con staff can know, okay, yeah, they're meant to be at this convention, they've been issued a badge. They're required to be worn at all times. But you also have artist-made badges. So these usually feature a headshot of your character and your name underneath. So con badges are just a shortened term that refers to convention badges. They are designed to be worn at events. Some fursuiters for non-event costuming, so public fursuiting, wear species badges just to say what animal they are. This is because the general public are really bad at identifying what animals are. You would also know this if you've ever been to a zoo. Good Lord, that is a time. I feel so sorry for zookeepers. Sweet, we are at half an hour, guys. Thank you all for showing up. We have got 25 minutes left, and I'm going to be leaving some space at the end for Q&A questions, so make sure you get those in. So, why do you need badges, though? Many fursuiters are silent fursuiters. This is a conscious decision to not break the magic. We are, after all, costume performers. It is no different to the illusion that mascot performers create. So think Disney, for example. When we are in fursuit, we are no longer ourselves. We are portraying a character. This does create some issues when trying to communicate things like your name or what species you are. Con badges just sort of act as a visual shorthand. It's so you can preserve the magic while also telling someone your name. But, you know, not all fursuiters are silent. Again, there is no right or wrong way to do this at all. Many like to wear badges just because they are lovely ways to support our artists and show off this cool artwork I got, you know. They're also an excellent way to break the ice. Badges are just as popular with non-fursuiters, and it's a fantastic conversation starter. I've talked to a lot of people because I've gone up to them and recognized the artist of their badge, and it's a really neat way to start talking to someone. I've done that at PonyCon as well, actually, so works for both. Come on, there we go. So yeah, let's talk about very briefly verbal and non-verbal. So some fursuiters do and will talk to you. Some may use like a accented or different voice to their own to bring a character to life. Some use like bird callers to make sounds. Not that many birds actually do that, surprisingly. And some remain silent and they just sort of act out charade style. Again, no one way to costume. Some badges, like my badge up here from Serious Punk Dog, there they are, will say if someone is a silent fursuiter. But badges can also include someone's social media. It can be super helpful, more so in fursuit, but also out of it. So you get tagged in photos of yourself from events because people can be like, oh, that's X person's Twitter. I can tag them in this post of them. Badges are less common, at least artist designed ones in MLP spaces, but you do see them. They still exist, and I know quite a few folks in the vendor hall are open for badge commissions, pony badges. So if you don't have one, you should go get one. They're super fun. You can start collecting them like me and drown in them. Fantastic, right? There we go. So, furries and My Little Pony fans, they are similar but different. Is that what I'm getting at? Yeah. So, in the same way that you have Sonic the Hedgehog and his various friends, he is an anthropomorphic character. Sonic fans have their own community, though. Some of them might be like, I'm a furry as well, or they might even be like, I like My Little Pony as well, you know, but they have their own community. You can't go up to them and be like, well, you're just all furries, because they're not. They're just fans of Sonic, and that's totally fine. So yeah, My Little Pony characters, they're generally depicted walking on all fours. So, like this friend here. There we go. So yeah, they typically walk on all fours. Characters that walk on all fours in furry circles are usually referred to as feral. They are more typically are more. Sorry, I got distracted because my upstairs neighbors are being noisy. Start that one again. They are more like conventionally animalistic, so think sort of the Lion King, where like those characters talk, but they're still very much animals. Does that make sense? But you will also see more anthro depictions. So these are standing on two legs, more humanoid depictions in My Little Pony. Equestria Girls is an example. I put this in, but in hindsight, I don't think it is as much. I found out an old badge that shows like a more anthro pony. There they are. To like hopefully highlight that a little bit better. But yeah, I guess KO here would be anthro because he's a pony who's standing on two legs. Should have thought of that one first, shouldn't I? But yeah, any questions? Leave them in Q&A. I know I'm like throwing a lot of information at you guys, so do not be afraid to just be like, I don't get it, or I need more clarification on this, or I'm wondering about this. I'm genuinely happy to answer and excited to. So like, what do furries even do though? Like, what do you guys do? So furries come from all walks of life and different backgrounds. Typically what unites us is an interest in anthropomorphic characters from movies and TV shows and video games. These form a basis of a lot of discussions. So you've got like Crash Bandicoot, pretty much every character most in Crash Bandicoot is some kind of anthropomorphic character. Spyro, and I mentioned previously Lion King. But one of the main differences between furries and most other subcultures is we don't really have a focus on like one piece of media or like one intellectual property. Our focus is ourselves. It's the community. What brings us together is being fans of artwork and costume and just each other, you know. At events, it's super common to have video game tournaments. We have panels about writing, art, costume building. We have fursuit parades, which are exactly what you sound like. You walk in a circuit, and people take photos of you. It's not that complex. There's also fursuit games as well, which can be quite fun. My first convention, I played Fursuit Twister and lost hilariously because it's not a great idea to do that. But yeah, there's also photo shoots. We call them dealers' dens. You guys typically tend to call them vendor halls, but they mean the same thing. A lot of that, though, might sound pretty familiar to you guys. But most of all, we go to events to see our friends. That is the focus. We're doing good, we're doing good. Right. At furry conventions, there are some events which may seem a little bit more common at My Little Pony events. So we have dance competitions or floor wars, which are improvisation dance-offs. They're usually specific photo shoots for different animal species. I'm working with a previous version of this. It's meant to say servals, not sergals. No, it is meant to say sergals. Oh, I am working with an older version of this presentation, though. I just realized I meant to have another photo up here. Whoopsie daisies. But yeah, sergals are like alien cheese wedge things. Dutch angel dragons. You've probably seen one. Or there's protogens. So they're like little robot heat boots. There is commonly a fursuit parade. It's usually a highlight of a convention. But there's also international snack exchanges, because we get a lot of nationalities turning up to conventions. Furry events seem to have a lot of game shows, like Taskmaster and Catchphrase and Barking Blanks, and there's some others. I don't know why we're all so obsessed with game shows, but I guess we are. So I'm going to quickly fly through this one. Artwork and artists. So both the furry and My Little Pony community rely on fantastic, talented creators, artists, writers, musicians, crafters, painters, you name it, we've all got it, and it's amazing. Creative people really, really are the backbone of both of our communities. They create merchandise to get artwork and commissions from, and they really turn it from just being fans of a show or property and into a full community. A lot of artists tend to draw from both, as there's a lot of crossover in art styles and aesthetics. They might also draw like Sonic and Pokemon, because it's all animals. Yeah, so artwork is a huge focus of both of our communities, and it is another massive way in which we are super similar. Welcoming, accepting family. To me, and I'm sure so many others watching this right now, is that both the My Little Pony fan base and the furry fandom preach acceptance. They stand to be a place that is welcoming. Both groups attract a high percentage of LGBTQ youth, as well as being a place that is considered safe for minority groups to be themselves. Both fandoms can become a home and a family for people. So this is the Hoofer meetup from Confuzzle, which is a furry convention. And yeah, these are all the Hoofer fursuiters and non-suitors. And as you can see, there's a lot of ponies in there too. Yeah, it's super cool. So I am running out of time, so I'm going to have to speed this up. What if you want to become a furry? You're a furry. Congratulations, you did it. As I said previously, it is a term that one gives to themselves. You don't require anything to be a furry. The vast majority of us do have a persona, so I popped up Reskel again. But even that's not truly a requirement, not really. A very small minority own fursuits because they're ridiculously expensive, mostly due to cost, maintenance, storage, all of that. Most furries won't own a costume at all, but they are just as much a part of the community as people who do. It's the same way that not all My Little Pony fans are cosplayers. And at the end of the day, fursuits are just a cosplay of our own characters. Respect is key. So what's important to remember is that there is a lot of overlap between us. A lot of people found My Little Pony through being a furry, so myself included. I've been watching My Little Pony since I think late 2011 now, and I have been a furry since 2009. So yeah. Similarly, you know, many My Little Pony fans went on to engage with the furry fandom. It really does happen both ways. It's very common to have people who are in both circles at the same time, but that is not always the case. End of the day, though, we all enjoy talking animal people, right? Usually in wild and crazy color schemes. Our goal for both is to have a welcoming community where we have fun, support each other, and enjoy our hobbies. Conclusions. All right. So we're actually nearing the end now. So if you guys want to pop in Q&A questions, do it now. Furries have been a thriving community even since Generation 1 of My Little Pony was debuted. Both communities have a lot of crossover in costume, artwork, event structure. There are differences between us, and it's important to recognize that. And there always will be. Anyone from either community is welcome in the other one. You can choose what communities you interact with and label yourself as being. Nobody else. And that's honestly one of the biggest things I want people to take away from this. My hope with doing this panel has been to shed some light on who and what the furry fandom is, what we do, and hopefully create some more understanding, education, and acceptance. I was hoping to do this panel in person so I could do a bit more props and hands-on and show you guys fursuits and things. So come to the in-person panel that I will hopefully be doing of this, and it should be a bit more interactive. But remember, everyone, friendship is magic, and I'm going to be asking some Q&A questions, hopefully. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and it should just hopefully be my face. No, no. No, it's not. There we go. Thank you. So I'm going to put my screen share back on, I think, because I'm not sure you guys can see me. I'm going to guess you guys can just see my face and just go with it. What is the difference between a persona and OC? Thank you, so Poke. So it's kind of difficult. For me, a persona is very much you are in the furry fandom and it is a reflection of yourself. So I do have more than one persona. I have Reskel, but I also have Lockie, who is a male counterpart because I'm non-binary. But I also have characters who are just sort of, they don't really represent me and myself. They are just for they're just for like costume and design, and they're just for fun. They don't represent me as a person. So I hope that answers that. What inspired your alien dog, OC? So Rescale's not always been a alien. It was actually a suggestion by my friend at the time that I should make them an alien. I just sort of added antennas and was like, huh, you know what? Let's go with that. So I'm a big fan of science fiction and Doctor Who, and it just sort of felt me, I guess. I also designed an alien persona because I was dealing with a lot of feelings of being an outsider, and to have an alien character just sort of helped me deal with those emotions. So I hope that answers it. You're interested in drawing a persona, but you can't sew to save your life. What kind of price ranges am I looking at for a fursuit? Goodness. Okay, so fursuits can be anything from, I want to say, 500 to 5,000. There is so much variety that I can't even go into it. Everyone charges differently because everyone is at different levels, and it really depends what you're after. If you're looking for a fursuit, I really do recommend going on the website, which is called fursuitreview.com. It's where people leave reviews of fursuits that they have received, like, was this a good experience, was this a bad experience, how much did it cost, etc. And that's a really great place to start. But if you are on a budget, I also recommend getting a dino mask and modifying it yourself. You can even do this without touching any fur at all. It can just be painting. I've actually got a dino mask behind me that I'm painting. And I think even with fur and materials, it's cost me like £50 altogether. So that's a very cheap way, is to do it yourself. Or you can buy bases and build it. Or, you know, get one secondhand. Most of mine are secondhand. Cool. So if you were to look at only online, you would think that there was a rift between the two. Sweet. That is a very good point. That's another reason why I wanted to make this panel, is to show just how similar we actually are. I think there's a disconnect because a lot of ponies will almost be accused and told like, well, you're just a furry, and they're like, but I'm not. And I think that's quite rude. You have to, you know, you should be able to choose whether you identify as something or not. And a lot of furries feel a disconnect because they're like, well, you guys are doing furry stuff, but you're not talking to us, you're not wanting to interact with us, like you're almost like, you know, what's so wrong with us that you don't want to join us? I just think there's a lot of confusion, and a lot of it comes down to just needing to open more channels of communication and understanding. Is there an age where someone is too old to be a Brony or Pegasus? I sure hope not. I really hope not. I mean, I'm 24 and I still consider myself to like really young. I think that, ooh, there's a motorbike outside. I really think that there is no age where you can stop having fun. I know a lot of furries who are into their 40s and 50s and still fursuit and still go to conventions. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I want to do when I'm old. I still want to be going outside and making people smile with my costumes, and I still want to enjoy a show that makes me smile. So I really don't think there is, so long as you're having fun. Have I experienced virtual reality? Yes, but not with a furry model or anything. Sweet. No, a lot of people's personas do talk. A lot of people's personas will have jobs, or some of them will be scholars of some kind, and all of them have the ability to talk, you know. But yeah, I've experienced virtual reality, but nothing furry themed. But I definitely think while we're in the event, they have become a very good sort of go-to for that. Is furry a bit ill-defined? Yes, it's incredibly broad, and it's very difficult to pin it down because the community means so many different things to so many people. So it's kind of difficult, but I think what's important about furry is that we don't have one show that we love. There's not one thing that we're like, we're fans of this. We're fans of each other, and we are a community focused on, you know, building each other up and being there for each other, which is not to say other communities aren't, but like our focus is what we create, not what others create. I hope that explains that. How does style change around the world? So yeah, you have in different countries fursuits that look completely different. So a lot of what I've shown you is what's called like sort of Western fursuits, but you can also get kimono, which is very much anime styled or Japanese. So yeah, you get a lot of that too. Is there any website or tutorial to point us towards making our own costumes? Not hugely, but to be honest, if you do Google it, I would recommend matrices.net. Matrices actually did one of the artworks in my panel, and they have a website with tons of fursuit tutorials. But otherwise, generally, just type in fursuit tutorial, you'll find loads of stuff. I'm just going through. Yeah, I've got about like 5 minutes left. I'm catching up on the questions. I am so blown away. I did not expect there to be this many questions. If I don't get to you, I'm really sorry, but I do heavily appreciate it. Will I get told off if my character looks like someone else's? Yes, definitely. Artwork and persona theft is something that does unfortunately happen. Remember, personas are hugely and deeply personal to each individual. And some people join the community and don't really understand that you need to make your own. But you really do. And theft is very, very looked down upon. It's why a lot of artists will watermark things. So, sweet. I am really glad that my explanation helped you understand a little bit better. Again, most furries got here because they like something that has an anthropomorphic character in it, but that's not the focus of our community. It's one of the ways that I personally quite enjoy this community is that you don't need to keep up with a show or a video game or a movie or anything. You can enjoy what you like out of it, you know? I came into the fandom because of Twilight. I'll be completely upfront. I was really into Twilight werewolves. And not many people have that same experience, but you know, I do. It is whatever you like, and then we just come together and enjoy each other's characters and the artwork we make. And I think that's kind of magic, and it makes us special and different. But it also means we can relate to a lot of other communities. It means there's a lot of crossover. So that can be really cool as well. I'm going to have a quick sip break, but I think I am almost at the end of my panel. So I want to thank everyone so much for coming along. I was so nervous. I have been running the Hoofer community for the UK and Europe. I run a theme park community for furries. I've been running my own fur meets for 8 years, and obviously I'm committee for here. But this is actually the first panel I've ever ran. So I was definitely breaking it. So I really appreciate everyone coming along and giving me questions and showing me so much support. So I just want to say a huge thank you. And if you come to the in-person convention in May, I'm hoping to put on the same panel again and bring some of my fursuits along because they've been kind of hiding at the back. And I think it would be cool to do more of like a show and tell and hands-on. But yeah, I think I'm basically out of time. People have put in the Fur Science link in the chat, so check that out. It has a lot of interesting information about our community as well. Very much recommended. Thank you, Doran, for doing that for me.